Salut, bonjour, and welcome to Francofille Knits, a creative podcast. My name is Devin, and this is where I document my knitting and other fiber-related crafting. So you can see I am in a different location again this week. I'm in the dining room because the lighting is better. I apologize that it's been another 2 weeks since my last episode came out. I'll talk a little bit about what's been going on at the end of the episode so that those of you who just are here for knitting and all that kind of good stuff, which totally legit, this is a knitting and, yarn related podcast. You guys can go ahead and skip all that stuff. But yeah, I've got quite a bit of knitting to talk about. As you can see, I've got some yarn sitting behind me. So yeah, let's just kind of dive right in. So initially, I was planning on talking about all of the socks that I've basically knit since I last really had a podcast episode. Not this most recent one, but the one before that, which I think was in August. And then since the last podcast episode, so in the last 2 weeks, I've actually cleared off 2 whips from my needles. One that was just a recent cast on and one that's a long-term whip. And I figured between that and sort of the other little Christmas-related knitting things that I've gotten done, I'd just kind of go ahead and talk about that instead. Maybe when I do my sort of Boxo socks wrap up at the end of the year, in a couple weeks, maybe then I'll talk about all the socks I knit. So I've got 2 finished objects to talk about, 2 pairs of socks that are currently on the needles, and then I kind of wanted to show you guys where I'm at with my Cozy Memories blanket because it's been a little while since I last showed you guys. So yeah, I'm going to start with the long-term whip that's finally off of my needles. This is a big, giant brioche scarf that I have been working on for, I think, over a year now for my mom. This was supposed to be a Christmas present last year, and then life kind of happened, got in the way, and this project got put on the back burner. I picked it back up over the summer and then made a couple mistakes. Actually made one mistake somewhere in an area like this. I think it was further in the thing, but I had to rip back in brioche and that sucked. So I kind of put the project on timeout. I was hoping to have this done before September so she could have it for her birthday, but it was in timeout and it was making me angry. So yeah, it got picked back up in the last week or 2 so that I could get it finished in time for Christmas. And yeah, it is all finished. I've got to tidy up a couple of the ends that need to get woven in. They're all woven in. I weave them in before I block. But some of them pop back out a little bit or just need to get trimmed up, right? Like that one. So the pattern was one that I kind of came up with on my own. Sorry, it's huge. It blocks out to about 6 feet long, I measured. So it'll be perfect for my tiny little mom. She'll be able to wear it wrapped around a couple times without issue, right? Like, it's plenty long. This is actually, I think in like the 15 years I've been knitting, this is the first scarf I've ever actually finished. I am not a scarf knitter. I will knit shawls. Scarves I find far too monotonous, which is another reason this took forever. But yeah, let's see here. I can at least show it to you guys like this. So the brioche motif is based on the Candy Leaves hat that I knit last fall, which is a DK weight 2-color brioche hat. I really, really recommend it, but I wanted to do something similar. Mom asked for a big cozy scarf, and I had these 3 different colorways in my stash, and they're not really me per se, but they're really fun. So the main color, right, this light color on the front is Madeline Tosh, Tosh Merino Light in the Cosmic Stardust colorway, right, which is a really beautiful, heavily speckled colorway, right, on a neutral base. So lots of neon speckles, right, if you can see that in there. And then the 2 colorways on the back I striped. This is a Manos del Uruguay. Don't remember the name of the colorway. But I believe it's the Allegria base, right? But it's really kind of gorgeous and fun, really bright, really gorgeous. And then the tonal blue is, oh goodness, I think it's My Door County yarn. And one of my friends picked it up for me. It's from her parents' LYS. Well, they don't own it, but it's near their house. So it's a locally dyed yarn from Door County, Wisconsin. When I was picking out the colors for this, I wanted yarn that was in my stash that was special, but that are mom colors, you know? My mom loves bright, happy, cheerful colors. I mean, you can, I think, tell by just this image here that in my house and in my wardrobe, that's not really how things go. So I used yarn that had been gifted to me that was meaningful to me and that was, you know, mom's colors to make this big scarf for her. And yeah, it blocked out just how I was hoping it would. It's really nice and long. I didn't give up early like I kind of assumed I would. I'm not a patient knitter. But yeah, I really love the striping effect on it. I love this project. And I can't wait to give it to mom for Christmas. I think she's gonna love it. And it's not a surprise, right? I've shown the project to her several times over the last year as I've been working on it, because I kind of feel like with gift knits, it's important to run them by the recipient whenever possible, or at least discuss it with the recipient beforehand so that you're not putting hours and hours and hours into a project only to discover that, like, oh, they're allergic to wool, or they really hate gray, or anything like that, right? Or they really don't like the way cables look, you know? I mean, I feel like that is a common thing to have happen. I know it's happened to me. Early on, I knit like a cowl and ear warmer set for my dad, because, you know, when he goes skiing, he likes to wear both of those kinds of things. But I knit it out of Cascade Eco wool, and it was a little too, let's call it rustic. It was itchy and scratchy, and as much as he loved it and you know, he was very gracious about it, and like still has it with his ski stuff and all that, like he never wears it because it's just not comfortable. So I don't know. And that's why I run things by recipients when I am gift knitting. Well, unless I've gift knit for them for a while, then I kind of have an idea of what they like. At any rate, so that was project number one, long-term project that is finally off the needles. There is no pattern for it. If you're comfortable with brioche, it's really easy to take any kind of brioche motif from being knit in the round to knit flat. All right, so the second gift knitting item that is off my needles this week is the Appia cowl. So I'm holding up my Ravelry library so I know the name and all that kind of information. It is the Appia cowl by Hilary Smith Callis, who is the Yarniad. And I love her cowls. I knit the Star Showers cowl by her over the summer. Right, and this is, right, it is just a gorgeous lace cowl out of fingering weight yarn. Yeah, I knit this out of my new Provence base, my Merino Silk Blend base. And this is the By Candlelight colorway. It's just a really gorgeous, warm mauve kind of colorway. A little bit pink, a little bit brown, a little tonal. Really gorgeous. I love it. But yeah, I did the larger size. There are two sizes because I wanted it to have a little bit more drape. I love it. I'm really gonna be sad to give this one up if I'm completely honest. This yarn drapes beautifully. It blocked like a dream. It knit like a dream. I'm just kind of obsessed. I did aggressively block it to really open up that lace. So the cool thing about the way she does a lot of her cowls is they start being knit flat, right? Like a semicircular shawl. And then towards the end, she will, she has you start working in the round, right? So that the back of it is a little bit shorter than the front. It gives it a really gorgeous drape. I think this is going to be really beautiful underneath the recipient's winter coat. And just the sheen on that, it's really subtle, but it just, I don't know, it's got this kind of inner glow to it, which I really love. I love this base. And I may need to steal another skein out of my stash for myself so I can make another one of these. It was really, really fun knit. It's not a pattern that's easily memorized. At least I didn't easily memorize it, and I like to think I can memorize patterns fairly quickly, but this was one where I kind of had to keep the pattern open in front of me the entire time I was working on it, which has been the case for for the patterns of hers that I've knit. But I don't even mind, right? The results are just gorgeous. I can't even complain, you know? It was definitely a thoughtful knit and it was really fun. So between, you know, working on my favorite needles and with this base that I'm in love with, and, you know, I love knitting lace. And the fact that it's a gift and all that, like it was a really fun, really great project. I used my Chiaogu interchangeables. I believe it was size 4. This pattern calls for a size 4. Love this. Oh, yeah, this is gonna be hard to give up. I definitely recommend if you are looking for a single skein project for fingering weight yarn, like a special sort of fingering weight yarn, I would definitely recommend any sort of cowl pattern by Hilary Smith Callis. I would definitely check out her patterns because they're definitely really fabulous finished objects and really engaging knits. A little bit of a tea break as I've been babbling. I kind of need something to drink. It's still really, really hot. I'm having some I think it's Genmai Cha, some green tea with popcorn, which gives it kind of a fun nutty flavor to it. I only did one, so I did the David's Tea Advent Calendar last year and only had 1 cup of tea from each day. So I actually had enough left to do the same calendar again this year. I wasn't planning on doing it. I kind of cut back on my caffeine intake at the beginning of November and I'm back on caffeine, so I'm gonna enjoy my tea. So if I had planned ahead, I would have gotten myself this year's one, but it's tea. It goes maybe a little stale, but it doesn't go bad. So yay. Let's see, so on to whips. Let's start with sock knitting. So I'm almost finished. A couple days late, I'm almost finished with my December Sock Club socks. The pattern is written, it doesn't have pictures yet, which is why it's December 2nd and it hasn't quite gone out like it was supposed to. Like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been going on and why that's the case at the end, after all the yarn talk. But yeah, so this is this month's colorway and pattern all knit up. The colorway, which is also this nice little green guy down here at the bottom. It is sapin, which is French for pine tree, right? So like a Christmas tree is en sapin de Noël, right? I have got a Christmas colorway that is Mon Beau Sapin, which is a micro striping green and speckle colorway. I wanted a colorway that could read festive, right? Christmassy and all that, but without being in your face aggressively Christmassy, right? So that if you're not into red and green, you know, yeah, you could still participate, right? I didn't want to be limiting people. And I don't know, I have Christmas socks, but I don't know, I feel like with aggressively Christmassy colorways, or aggressively any holiday, I'm very limited as to when in the year I want to wear them. So I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more evergreen. That, you know, you could wear in March without feeling weird. Or maybe you were fine wearing Christmas socks in March without feeling weird. More power to you. So the pattern is primarily up on the leg, right? It extends just a little bit onto the top of the foot. So the pattern I have named Baubles and Boughs, like boughs of holly, because when you wear them, right, the ribbing here kind of stretches a little bit, right? And the little knot motif kind of looks a little bit like vintage Christmas ornaments. So again, it's a nod to Christmas without being aggressively Christmassy. You can kind of see how it is here sideways. Kind of want to show you how it looks right front on. I've done patterning, as you can see, on both the front and the back of the sock, as I like to do, but as always with any of my patterns that do that, you can always leave it off the back of the sock. But yeah, so you can kind of see that with my awkward arm position here. Just to open it up a little bit. Let's just do that. Right, the little baubles, right? These little ornament-like things, they alternate across the front, and that the leg kind of comes down to a point before you get into just the plain stockinette for the foot. If you wanted to change it up a little bit, you could definitely continue this ribbing all the way down the top of the foot. I don't know, I've been having fun lately with designs that kind of stop at the ankle, right? Because partly it's faster, you know, to knit just stockinette for the foot, But part of it is also I kind of love letting the yarn sing, right? And sometimes, like with a speckled colorway like this, you get the full effect of it in the stockinette, right? But it's speckly, but the motif still comes through, which takes some practice, that's for sure. Heel flap and gusset top-down construction. You guys know that's my favorite if you've been watching for a bit. And yeah, I'm on to the foot of sock number 2. Excuse me while I get real close for a sec. Just pulling it out of the project bag it's hanging out in. As what tends to happen on many of my sock designs, especially recently, I've made a couple little minor modifications between sock 1 and sock 2. So for September and November, currently my socks are not twins, they are sisters. November's I'm gonna fix. I don't know if I'm gonna go back and fix the differences between this 2 and September. But anyway, so you can see here on sock number 2, I decided to continue the twisted rib to that little border, which I did not do on sock 1. I kind of thought it would be nice to try and do just purl stitches. And I don't know, I kind of think it looks a little bit messy. So I decided to change it up, and I actually really like it even better. Right? With the ribbon going all the way to that sort of chevron shape. Really love it. Pleased with the way the speckling has turned out, as it drives me nuts when I've got one sock that is more speckled than the other. It's kind of inevitable with hand-dyed yarn to a certain extent, but I do my best to try and minimize that as much as possible. Yeah, so I'm also knitting these on Xiaogus, and these are my 1.5, US 1.5, so that's 2.5 millimeter, which is my preferred needle for knitting socks. And I love these. They're just pointy enough. The join is super smooth. I love the cable because it has no memory. It doesn't curl back up on itself. Like seriously, I am a Xiaogu evangelist. Maybe not reasonable, but 2 more projects to show you. So I may as well actually pull this out from here. So this week in the shop, I decided to kind of combine 2 items that I already had in the shop into some yarn kits, some sock knitting kits. I've got Christmas mini skein kits. I believe I showed them on the last episode of the podcast. Here's 2 of them. These are Holly and Ivy. You know, red and green, Christmas, all that good stuff. And I happen to have, be playing around with combinations of the minis and some of my Christmas colorways, and decided I really just kind of wanted to put together some simple kits, right? So you've got a full skein of sock yarn plus a 20-gram mini to do either a contrasting cuff, heel, and toe, or just the heel and toe, depending on how big you like yours or what style, what technique you want to use, so that you can do this without having to buy the full mini skein set and a skein of yarn, right? You can just buy the 2 of them together. If that makes sense. It seemed, I don't know, more tempting, more economic. But yeah, so I've paired Christmas Lights, which is this heavily speckled Christmassy colorway, right? It's red and yellow, blue and green speckles, with the blue and the green kind of popped together in the red and the yellow so that it still reads pretty Christmassy, with this mini of Ivy, which is this really awesome saturated tonal green, right? Because I think that will be absolutely gorgeous together. So that's number 1, especially if you like really speckly colorways, really graphic sort of things, lots of contrast. This is an awesome kit. I think I've got 2 left in the shop for this one. And then the one that I actually snagged for myself is the combination of Christmas at the Cabin, right? Which is this gorgeous, warm, cozy, Christmassy colorway. Gorgeous tans and brown, mossy green, and like this really gorgeous, like warm, deep red color. And then Holly, right, which is a red tonal that goes pretty well actually with the red in the colorway. So that kit as well. Both of these are on my chaussette base or sock base, and I actually really love this sock base because it's got a little bit less nylon, right? It's 85-15, right? The split there. It's enough nylon for the strength, but it's not so much that it kind of gives that plasticky feeling that sock yarn can sometimes get. And the superwash merino in it is actually a super fine, like 19.5 micron merino, so it's extra soft, and it is just a dream. I love working with it, and it's ethically raised too. You can't beat that. But anyway, I've got, I think, 4 left in the shop of this. I snagged one for myself and already cast it on. It's my favorite. I've already knit a hat that I showed you guys last time out of this colorway, and I had, oh, looks like a cat attacked this cake. I had a misfit skein of Christmas at the Cabin that was a little less green, so I figured I'd keep that for myself. And I am knitting it up, and I love the way the color pools. Right, you just kind of get that barber, really kind of subtle barber pulling, right? And I mean, there's still green in it. It's not so misfitty. I may have possibly just been telling myself it was a misfit to justify keeping it. Oh, that's probably the truth. That's probably why I'm blushing a little bit about that. But anyway, I am also knitting these on my US 1.5s. And I'm doing a modified version of Molly from A Homespun House's Mrs. Weasley's family socks, right? So the motif is the same, but it's at a different gauge. I think hers calls to be knit on US 0s or US 1s. And for my size, I would have to do a 72 count. And I hate knitting a 72 count sock. Something about those 8 extra stitches per row really just, it's a mental thing, I have no doubt, but it just seems to take so much longer. But anyway, so I'm doing it on a 64 count and at my preferred gauge. So I'm working cuff down. I didn't do the red cuff, but yeah, so I'm really enjoying this knit. I cast it on yesterday and I'm already this far. It was really just kind of exactly what I wanted to be knitting on. I've got my little cupcake of the mini all ready to go, and I will be popping in an afterthought heel on that one and doing a contrasting toe. I think I might do a standard wedge toe instead of my normal sideways toe. We'll see how the mood strikes, but I will be knitting this, kind of mindlessly knitting on this, I think for the rest of the week. I just kind of need a mindless knit after these two very mindful knits that I've been working on. And even I have to say, this actually, for as complicated as it may look, was surprisingly intuitive after a while, right? There's definitely a real rhythm to it, right? Because the way I've got it spaced out, once you're done with one motif, right, either on the 2 outside or in the middle, right, you start immediately on the other one, right? So it flows really quickly, and you don't really, I don't know, I found I didn't really need to count what row I was on, because it's very rhythmic. It is a lot of twisted rib, but it looks so nice. I love twisted rib. I've learned to love twisted rib. I've embraced it. So yeah, that is my sock. Those are my socks. Those are my finished items. Right, last thing to talk to you guys about before I show you all of the yarn that remains behind me is my Cozy Memories blanket. You can see I've got some ends to weave in, and I think it is at this point too big to kind of hold up in one single shot. It is currently 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 squares across, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 down. Right. All sorts of good stuff in here. It is definitely, I think, the most colorful thing I own. It will definitely be the most colorful thing in my house once it's done, that is for sure. But yeah, so let's see here. I put a lot of my Christmas colorways into this. So, Christmas at the Cabin, which again, I'm just obsessed with, right? I just love the way it works out. Right, and this was definitely a skein that had a little bit less green in it. Here is the way that Ivy knits up, and Holly. I love that warm, deep tonal red. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this one. Here we've got a combination of, this is actually Christmas lights, and then Orage, right, which is my tonal charcoal gray, and that one's on my Paris base. Had a little bit left over. right? Like those two together. I think they were super cute. This was almost the mini that went in the kit with Christmas lights. I almost did that combo, but I kind of love the green. I feel like I'll just fold that over. I don't know. I think that looks really kind of fun and extra Christmassy with the green there. This is one that I'm going to be, sorry, Layla loves to nap on it, so it's covered in cat hair. But this is a colorway that I'm going to be releasing, I think, after Christmas. That is going to be called, I think it's Fireside is what I named it. But it's just this really, really sweet, subtle gray and beige and orange colorway that was actually inspired by the wood burning stove and surround, like the fireplace, the mantle, all that in our sunroom. Right, just a really lovely, you know me, I love my neutrals, right? I might modify it a little bit to go a little darker, a little more saturated on the orange. It reads a little too peach to me right now. We'll see. Moving on, this is Un Flambeau, Jeannette Isabelle, or Bring a Torch, Jeannette Isabelle. Right, which is a really gorgeous gray colorway with multi-dimensional pink or purple speckles. And then we have Thankful. Right, it's really kind of gorgeously warm and cozy. I love this colorway. I've got 2 skeins of it that I may have squirreled away for myself. And then finally I've got Nutcracker here, which I love. I need to dye up some more Nutcracker. I really love this one. Right. It's hard to see in the garter stitch. If I pull it apart, you can see. But there's actually pops of tan in there. There's pops of like a really goldeny orange kind of color. And then there's obviously a ton of red, white, and blue in there as well. Like a deep navy, almost black. Which was inspired by one of the Nutcrackers we have on our mantle right now, actually. So yeah, so I've added a bunch of my Christmassy colorways to my Cozy Memories blanket. And it is growing. It's actually gotten big enough where it's like a lap can, right? It covers my lap, but I'm gonna keep going. I've got more minis down in the basement that I am debating what to do with. I think I'm gonna be making some magic cakes, yarn cakes to put into either like Cozy Memories blankets, or really, but it's better for the crocheted crazy striped Afghans that people are making. So I've got some like misfit minis that are like 7 grams, things like that, that I was thinking of breaking up and putting into one of those cakes to make really gorgeous multicolored crochet projects. Or honestly, really multicolored whatever kind of project you want. So I'm gonna experiment with that a little bit, see if I can get my knot technique down. Because the last thing I would want is for, you know, you guys to buy something like that and then the knots to come apart as you're working. Sorry about that. Fun fact, Jordan was outside mowing up the leaves that have fallen. We have a giant yard, so raking really is not an option, so we just mulch it up with the mower. He just kind of walked in and started talking to me, so it's just like, I should pause the podcast. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what I was thinking about possibly putting up in the shop. Probably not this coming update, which would be Friday. Oh, geez. That was very Midwestern of me. I think it's Friday the 8th, maybe? That sounds right. It may be the one right before Christmas. If that's something you'd be interested in, let me know in the comments below, or if you have any experience with working off of one of those or making anything like that. Let me know. I would definitely appreciate any of that kind of feedback. Yeah, let's go ahead. I already talked to you guys about the sock kits that I've put up in the shop. Got a couple more things that are going to be up in the shop this coming week, or that are already up there now. I do have just a couple spots left for the December sock club, right? So you've seen the pattern. Here's what the yarn looks like in the skein, right? Really fun. Love it. You guys have seen Christmas lights and Christmas at the cabin. Right? They will be retired probably either this coming update or the update right before Christmas. So either the one on the 8th or the one the following week. So get these while you can, right? They don't really hang out in the shop for much longer after Christmas, even though I love this one. I've got a new tonal. I wanted a new kind of rich brown. It's actually the same one, like dyed, same technique in the same pot and all that. It's just 2 different bases. Way darker on the DK than on the merino silk blend. Yeah, so this is Nounours, which is teddy bear in French. So I've got it here on my Chaussette DK base, right, which is that superwash wool nylon blend DK. Really, really great. I made a hat out of it and I loved it. It actually knits up really, really nice. It's warm, it's squishy, it's cozy, it's gorgeous. I think it'd be awesome for baby knits. I've also got it here in holly. I think it's so cute. It wears really well, it knits up really well, and with the fact that it's a nylon blend with superwash merino, you can throw it in the wash and it'll be salvageable. It shouldn't felt up on you. I've already been pretty hard wearing on mine and it's holding up really well, actually. It hasn't started pilling or anything like that, and I'm rough on my knits, if I'm being totally honest. So yeah, love that. And obviously for best results, hand wash, lay flat to dry, all that good stuff. But if you need something that can put up with a little bit more abuse, this is a good base for that. Like I said, love it on the silk, and this I think is one of my favorite combos. This is 13 Desserts on Provence, which is that merino silk blend. Just love the way it catches the light. I think the two of these together is just a really kind of gorgeously sophisticated combo that I may need to steal and make something for myself with. Right, love that. This is also beautiful with by candlelight, right? The colorway I made that cowl out of. Right, love it. So pretty. I love it. I'm feeling really brown right now. I don't know. It's cold out. It's getting chilly. At night it gets real cold, so I want just warm, cozy colors all around me. I love these. So yeah, that's what's going on there. The pile over there is basically the same colorways. I just kind of made them into 2. I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that there's been kind of some stuff going on. That's why I've been a little bit MIA. I've been going through some medical stuff. I'm actually having to have an outpatient surgery this week. It's real routine. You know, it's nothing life-threatening, but my doctor found something that needs to get taken care of before it develops into anything terrible. And then he's referring me on to a specialist to deal with some other related issues. And I'm probably going to be going in for another surgery that'll be a little bit more, I think, invasive in a couple months. I think I've got to recover from this first one before they do anything else. And I mean, the specialist may or may not decide that I need to have that one. So the second one, I need to have this gets a little bit graphic. I need to have a fibroid removed. A uterine fibroid, my doctor found on a routine scan, and they're apparently fairly common. It's a typically benign tumor that forms. I have one that is currently the size of a baseball that I was completely unaware of somehow. So yeah, that's a delight. It's currently giving me a little bit of trouble, so gonna have to have that removed, which is awesome. So between not feeling well and then kind of having all of this thrown at me in the last 2 weeks, it's been a rough couple of weeks. Been a lot to kind of wrap my head around and deal with. So I apologize if I haven't been responding to messages or posts or anything like that. If you know, yarn orders have gotten shipped out a day or 2 late. That honestly has just been, I've been literally losing sleep over that fact. But just with everything that I'm kind of wrapping my head around right now, I just haven't had the energy to put into the yarn and all of that, and especially the social media stuff. But hey, everything's gonna be fine. Let me just throw that out there. Everything is honestly more or less routine. I've got good doctors, I've got a great family, great support system, and all of that. So in that respect, I'm definitely very lucky as I go through all of this sort of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, even having grown up around medicine and all that kind of stuff, surgery still scares me, even if it's outpatient stuff. Anytime I've had to go under general anesthesia, it just kind of, or even like Twilight, like partial sedation sort of stuff. It just does not sit well with me. I get anxious. Dental stuff doesn't make me anxious. This does. Everybody's got their thing. So that's partly why I have been knitting simple knits and will be doing more simple knitting for the next week. Why there wasn't a shop update last week. There wasn't an episode last week. And this week's shop update was kind of just really the sock kits and then adjusting inventory on things that were already in there. That's basically what's been going on with us. Yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on everything that's going on. You know, if I'm gonna go missing again, I'll let you guys know or explain in a following update, following podcast. If any of you guys have gone through this sort of thing before, if you've had to have fibroids removed, I would love to hear about that, actually. If you don't want to leave comments below, my email is below. I would really love to hear, I don't know, that everything is okay and this happens and it ends up not being a huge deal. I'm a nervous Nelly. What can I say? I'm actually a terrible patient. No, not really. I listen to all the advice given to me and all that kind of stuff. Let me put it a different way. It is in my nature when there is an issue, right? Something that I am, say, interested in, I will do all of the research I possibly can on it, which has involved me obsessively studying Google images of like ultrasounds and things like that over the last 2 weeks to try and figure out what is happening. You know, reading medical journals and all that kind of stuff, which, don't worry, any of you out there who are in medical professions, I've already been scolded by both my dad and my brother about this, who are both medical professionals. My doctor, luckily for me, laughs it off. But I appreciate that he at least talks to me like an intelligent human being. That is one of the things I do appreciate in physicians. I'm gonna cut so much of this. Oh God, I'm trying not to freak out. I'm trying not to freak out. That's kind of where I'm at. There's a lot I'm not saying. Jordan has requested, understandably, that I keep a lot of this private. Like especially details and things like that about what's happening. Yeah, I'm gonna be going to the doctors a whole lot more over the next year than I did last year. Seeing some specialists and getting stuff taken care of and getting things figured out. Growing up sucks. So I appreciate any and all support. If you even stuck through this to hear any of that sort of personal crap when I warned you that it was gonna be personal, I appreciate you. Thank you. I really do. I'm not telling you guys this because I'm desperately needing attention or sympathy or anything like that, or I'm trying to make excuses for not being on top of my game or whatever. And I don't know, I kind of feel like, I mean, I would love to hear from anybody who's kind of been through this kind of stuff. So that kind of support, I'm definitely I kind of need, not gonna lie there. But I don't know, I kind of feel like I owe you guys a little bit of an explanation, like when I just kind of drop off the face of the earth. Kind of everything that's happening now has been happening for the last 6 weeks and is kind of part of why I've been a little bit touch and go, probably related to stuff that was real. I didn't podcast in September and all that kind of stuff. So life gets in the way, but we must soldier on. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Maybe not next week, so I will be recovering, but the week after that. We'll definitely have at least one more episode up in December. At least one more episode up before Christmas. In terms of like self-care and being kind to myself and, I don't know, really reducing some of the pressure on myself, I may stick to an every 2 weeks sort of podcast schedule. I think just kind of mentally that may lessen the burden I am dealing with currently. I hope you guys understand. I gotta put myself first, you know? Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me, sticking with me through this. I will see you guys again soon. Bon tricot, happy knitting. Bye.